what our speaker has to say about forensic microbiology now. Let's welcome our next speaker, Dr. Rina Susan Phillip, who is currently heading UG Department of Forensic Sciences, and she's serving as an associate professor at Jane Dean to be University. She has 16 years of experience in teaching, research, and administration, and has a doctorate in botany. Her research interests are interdisciplinary in nature that aims at developing plant-based, novel, reliable, economical, and sustainable tools and techniques with application in forensic sciences. Her current research areas include forensic botany and forensic microbiology. She is also a member of Board of Studies and examiners for a few reputed colleges in Bangalore as well. So let's welcome Dr. Rina Susan Phillip. Welcome, ma'am. Ma'am, please unmute yourself, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Anju.
You're welcome.
A very good morning to all the dignitaries, the organizers of the National Summit, my esteemed colleagues and dearest students who are participating in the summit today. It is indeed a humble privilege to me that I get to be a part of this wonderful initiation from the JAX Foundation as well as the Government of India. I think at times like this, such national summits, which can bring in the academics as well as the industry together, is of utmost importance. I'm sharing my presentation. So my topic for today is forensic microbiology today and tomorrow. As Anju very correctly put, in today's scenario, at the present COVID-19 lockdown and the pandemic situation, I think a subject like forensic microbiology or a branch of study like forensic microbiology needs to be looked at a little more in detail. I think all of us are very familiar with this picture. It is of the 2001 anthrax attack. Although there has been several instances of use of these microorganisms, either as biocrime or as a part of bioterror or even as biowarfare weapons, the 2001 attack was a real eye-opener. And so to say, the COVID-19 pandemic situation today is yet another incident why a branch of study like forensic microbiology needs to be looked into with newer perspectives, and there is a need for greater innovations in the particular field. So my lecture today, I intend to cover it under the 4 topics. What is forensic microbiology, its relevance or its significance in today's scenario, the practices at present, and of course the recent advancement in the field. Forensic microbiology need not be introduced to all of us. I think all of us are familiar with it, and as the name suggests, it is nothing but an amalgamation between 2 fields of study, that is microbiology and forensic science. But what I would bring to the table today is the 2 different perspectives of looking at forensic microbiology. One is the application of the principles of forensic science in solving criminal cases that involves the use of microorganisms, either a biocrime or a bioterrorism attack, or even use of microorganisms as a biowarfare weapon. Another perspective, a much more newer perspective, is the application of the principles of microbiology in solving cases of forensic science significance. So in today's lecture, I would like to look at what are the practices that are followed as of today, what are the innovations that are currently happening in the particular field with respect to the 2 perspectives.
Ma'am, I request you to complete your session in like 10 to 15 minutes. Will that be possible?
Yes, I will quickly do that, yeah.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, so in order to understand the innovations that are needed or that are currently happening in the field of forensic microbiology, there are 2 concepts that we need to gain a thorough understanding on. The fact that microorganisms can be used as a potential threat or are a potential threat, and at the same time, the very same microorganisms can be used as important tools and evidences. Microorganisms as a potential threat, it is important for us to understand what are the parameters that mark it as a potential threat. Only then we will be able to bring in innovations in the particular field. So the first and foremost reason is that they are microscopic, hence they are very difficult to be detected. They are diverse in nature, so each microorganism is different from each other, therefore they exhibit different characteristics. There are millions and millions of microorganisms that are present. There are newer forms that are evolving every time as well. So it becomes, again, the identification becomes difficult. And most of these microorganisms that are known to us are pathogenic, with, of course, differing virulence. Hence, they become a threat. They are a potential weapon for biowarfare. They can be easily manipulated. Now, they can be easily manipulated in a lab, as is the accusation with COVID-19. At the same time, they get easily manipulated in the natural conditions as well. So either way, they can undergo evolutionary process, thereby creating more diverse species or substrains of a particular species. They are easily transmissible. This, in the present scenario of COVID-19, I think this has been very, very evidently exhibited. And one of the major reasons why a microorganism gets used as a biowarfare weapon or a bioterrorism weapon is because it is easily transmissible. And only those microorganisms that are easily transmissible get selected for the same. And most of the times, the entire organism or the living organism itself is not needed. Just the potent chemicals that they produce are very much enough for in order to realize it as a biowarfare weapon. Now, at the same time, although there's a threat that they can be used as a weapon, they are also valuable tools as ancillary evidences. For the reasons that they are omnipresent, they are present in every part of the environment, aquatic, terrestrial, as well as aerial. They are diverse and unique, so each organism or each species or each strain is different from each other. Therefore, their identification there is a lot of scope for innovation and tools for their identification. And most of the times, they also act as bioindicators. Thereby indicating the presence or absence of certain substances, or the presence or absence of certain toxins and other substances. So these are the reasons why microorganisms are valuable to us. Now, if you look at both from the forensic science scenario as well as the application of microorganisms in solving criminal cases, the major emphasis is on their identification. So they can be used for those two purposes only if they are identified correctly. They are identified with a certain ease, and at the same time they are identified rapidly. If you recall the way COVID-19 infections kind of manifested itself, the loss of so much of livelihood all over the world, or so much of human resources all over the world was, one of the reasons to that was the fact that the diagnostics took, for the diagnostics to be designed, it took a certain time. It certainly took a certain time to identify and realize the treatment process. So this is where, the significance of forensic microbiology and the innovations in the field actually come into action. So let's very briefly look at what are the present practices, and from there on move on to the current innovations. Now, basically, by the traditional methods, the microorganisms are identified based on their morphological features. It can be both macroscopic and microscopic in nature. These are some of the pictures from a study happening in my lab. So they can be identified based on colony characteristics or under the microscope, that is by their staining properties. So just give me a minute. Yeah. Okay, or by their staining properties, and I don't think any of us need any insight into that. All of us are aware of it. Now, another way of detecting, traditionally, the type of microorganism or the species of microorganism is by a series of biochemical assays. Okay, these are borrowed pictures from various sources on the internet. So again, based on each microorganism is unique on its owing to its different metabolic pathways, the different kinds of metabolites produced by it. So you have a series of such biochemical assays that help us in differentiating the one species of microorganism from the other. This is again something that is not new to us. You have a lot of serological and immunological assays and kits available in the market today. One such good example is that of detecting the presence of aflatoxin, which is a potent toxin that is produced by a group of fungi, okay, which can be added as a contaminant, hence a potent threat to human beings. So such kits are available, which are based on the presence of a certain unique antigenic determinants on the surface of the organisms, and also the kind of immune response that they elicit in the host. The latest advancements in the traditional methods include the nucleic acid techniques, which includes DNA profiling. I think all of us, especially from the forensic science background, are aware of the various DNA profiling techniques. You have short genome sequencing and, of course, the microarray analysis. So all these techniques help us in identifying or narrowing down on the species or the strain of microorganism, which is very important when dealing with a bioterror threat or a biowarfare weapon. Only then, only after the identification of the organism in question can we further proceed into finding a solution or finding how to, initiating the thought process on how to combat the epidemiology of the bacteria or the fungi or the virus. Now, there is one major disadvantage when it comes to all these traditional techniques. It's that they are time consuming. They are not very sensitive, and they're not very specific. There can be cross reactions even in serological tests. There can be false positives, or they are cumbersome, especially in case of nucleic acid techniques. Okay, they are, although they are a promising technology, a piece of technique, they can be a little cumbersome in carrying it out. And it takes at least a few days time, at least 2 to 4 days time in order for the results to be produced. So that is where the recent advancements comes in picture, or the innovations in the field of forensic microbiology comes into picture. This is, one of the major studies that is going on in the field of forensic microbiology called as microbial profiling. Microbial profiling, in short, means identifying and characterizing the different microorganisms that can be present at given the scenario, in different scenario. So at present, there is a study going on to understand what is a microbiome as in relation to toxicology. So for example, if there is a drug overdose, is there a change or is there a succession in the microflora of a living system? There is also a study, pertaining to understanding the thanatoomicrobial and the epinecrotic microbial profile to determine the post-mortem interval. Certainly, as we all understand, when decomposition sets in, the microorganisms have a big role to play in the decomposition. So there is a succession of microorganisms that becomes visible from the time of death, from the time of onset of decomposition to the varying times, of identification of the decomposing body. So that an understanding of such microbial profile will help us understand what is the post-mortem interval. It can also be used to identify the place of death. Just like how diatoms are used or pollen grains are used. In the same manner, understanding the soil and aquatic profile of the local region where the cadaver was identified, or where the dead body was identified, or where the dumped body was identified, you can, as in comparison to the local terrestrial or aquatic profile, we can certainly identify the place of death. It also helps us in individualizing suspects, especially in case of sexual assault, with the help of the organisms that are sexually transmitted. Microbial profiling can also be used to understand the time since deposition of body fluids. I would like to take your attention to the particular study that is right now going on in the laboratory at the Department of Forensic Sciences, Jane deemed to be university, where we are trying to elucidate the change in the microbial profile on blood, on spilled blood for a certain period of time. Although the study is not complete, thanks to COVID-19, but we have certainly found that with increasing exposure or with increasing time since deposition, there has been a considerable drop in the microbial profile, so which can be used as a parameter to understand the time since deposition of a body fluid. So we work with blood, so similar studies can be carried out and is probably going on in other body fluids as well. So that brings us to the advanced analytical techniques. Analytical techniques like mass spectrometry has always been proved useful in identifying organisms based on their biochemical properties, identifying organisms based on the presence or absence of a certain biomolecules in them. Today, the analytical techniques have been improvised so much that the entire organism or the entire species of an organism can be identified using these analytical techniques. Few of them are capillary electrophoretic techniques. Another one is MALDI-TOF mass spectrometry and hyphenated methods. So these are the examples. So this is the example of capillary electrophoresis technique applied to identify and differentiate between different organisms. So as you can see here, there are different organisms that can be differentiated based on application of capillary electrophoresis. This is, as Dr. Arun Sharma sir said, the emphasis on a combination of different techniques, different separation techniques, different detection techniques, and identification techniques using a common interface. And these group of techniques are called as a hyphenated methods, where a combination of such techniques are used in order to help us identify a complete organism or a species identification. MALDI-TOF mass spectrometry is another example. Now, the advantage of a MALDI-TOF mass spectrometry is that it can help us in identifying 96 different species at a given time, 96 different species of organisms or of a particular organism in just 25 minutes, as compared to molecular techniques, morphological techniques, biochemical analysis, even molecular techniques, the number of days required is more. So this in less than 2 days, for the complete process to occur, in less than 2 days, the entire 96 different species of an organism can be identified. So based on the principles of ionization and time of flight mass spectrometry. This is an example where different organisms have been identified based on their antimicrobial resistance. So this is the profile of a MALDI-TOF mass spectrometry profile of a sensitive organism to a particular antibiotic. This is the spectrograph of organism that is resistant. Okay, the beauty of this technique is that a change in their antimicrobial resistance profile because of processes like mutation that are naturally happening in the environment can also be identified with the help of this particular technique. Okay, so that kind of emphasizes on the beauty of application of such techniques in the field. We have all been used to genome sequencing. Again, as Arun Sharma sir said, there is a big emphasis on the requirement or on the application of massive parallel sequencing in today's world with respect to forensic microbiology. So the advantage here is that, by traditional sequencing methods or molecular techniques, you have short fragments of DNA that are getting sequenced, and then you need to align them. So there is a lot of chances for errors being incorporated during that time, and at the same time, it is not a sensitive method, and also it is cumbersome. But with with massive parallel sequencing, you can have one entire DNA molecule being sequenced in a given shot, and therefore it saves on time and it is more accurate with lesser errors being incorporated, and you have the entire genome being sequenced in a very short span of time. This is another emerging tool, so to say, in forensic microbiology, where application of nanoparticles and microfluidics in diagnostics is of great significance today. From the forensic microbiology perspective, there is a greater need for biosurveillance. It can be, today, even in a country like India, there is a surveillance happening at the border where people can move in or out only after they have tested negative for COVID-19. So it is a very sad story that we have opted for such surveillance systems only after the occurrence of a pandemic, and hopefully there are going to be more and more stricter rules and regulations with respect to that. But one of the drawbacks with such surveillance systems is that the cumbersome process, the cumbersome technology that we need to carry, which cannot be positioned at such railway stations or airports and places like that. The same technology or the innovations that we just looked a few slides ahead, if we can convert that into a nanotechnology, and devise, equipments that is easily transportable, that is easily handleable, that can be easily handled, and which does not require a lot of expertise in kind of trying to understand how that works, will be a game changer, so to say, in the field of forensic microbiology. And I think in country like India, there is a very, very dire need for the development of such nano diagnostic tools. Okay, so these can be used for identifying organisms either based on biochemicals or the unique biomolecules that those organisms possesses, or even we can devise nano tools for identifying species of pathogens that are potential threat to the country. So this is a small gist of the innovations in the field of forensic microbiology. The references. I would like to place on record my sincere gratitude to the organizers of the National Summit for giving me this wonderful opportunity, the participants of the summit for their patient hearing, the management of Jain Deemed to Be University, Dr. Asha Rajiv, Director, School of Sciences, Jain Deemed to Be University, for the wonderful support and encouragement, my colleagues, Mr. Peter Kiran, Ms. Gloria, and Ms. Ashwati for suggestions, and my students for enabling me with the lab work.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. So that was really a well presented and a well informative talk, and you helped us see a different perspective, because this condition, it's high relevance because of this pandemic situation, and we have all seen that what a single microbe can do to human beings.
Yes.
And I wish all the best for your ongoing project, and I hope it will be contributing to our society for the well-being of the people.
Thank you. Looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And if participants are having any doubts, you can put the questions in the chat box.
Can I receive the questions?
Ma'am, I've requested.
Sorry?
I've requested to put in the chat box, but
a couple of questions. Do I address it now, or?
I think, ma'am, it will be better. We'll mail to you. So
okay.
I think it will be better.
Yeah, I think we are